This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1320, a conversation with Jeff Lemire.
Laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek. Uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is...
I'm Brian Cressman.
I'm Shane Kelly.
And I'm Adam Murdo.
Comic Geek Speak.
And welcome to the show.
I couldn't resist.
Yeah, I know. We have a fun conversation with Mr. Jeff Lemire coming up. Oh, God, writer of Animal Man, upcoming Green Arrow, Justice League Dark. Of course, he just has the Underwater Welder that came out this past year from Top Shelf.
And a couple surprises that he mentioned to you.
Oh, yeah, a couple surprises. He's very, very fun. And this episode of Comic Geek Speak is brought to you by Discount Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs. Because if you're pre-ordering your comics, when you pre-order any DC, Marvel, Image, or Dark Horse books, right away they are 40% off cover price. Most of your other books and independents are 20 to 35% off. And there are specials every month. 50% off specials, sometimes up to even 75% off. Some special this month. These are some of the half-off ones. You've got Constantine #1 for half-off cover price, only $1.49. Age of Ultron #1, half-off cover price, only $1.99. We'll be probably doing some discussion on Age of the Ultron coming up in the later months when it comes out. Also from Vertigo, Time Warp #1.
That one looks cool.
Yes, with a story by author Tom King, illustrated by the gentleman who illustrated the book right next to you there, Shane.
Tom Fowler.
Yes.
Cool.
Good stuff. That is half-off cover price, only $3.99. Plus, they've got bundles. They're doing another Marvel Now bundle. All the Marvel Now branded titles in a bundle, half-off cover price. Also this month, all new DC trades and hardcovers and all new Marvel trades and hardcovers, half off. Good stuff. They once again have their Valiant bundle, 5 Valiant books for half off, only $9.97. So go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs. If you happen to be a first-time customer, use the coupon code CGS8 at checkout for an additional 8% off your order. dcbservice.com.
See, this is why 3 heads are better than 1.
Yes. And, again, I'm going to remind you early and often to vote. I know you only vote once, I'm sorry. But for the CGS Best of 2012 nominations, go to thecomicforums.com. We have a forum thread on the comic forum. The very first thread is all about the nomination process. It lists all of the categories and where to send in your votes and get them in by Sunday, January 20th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on 2012. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and, I'm sure... I know I miss a lot of things, and a lot of things I would never think of, and I want to hear what the listeners think for the nomination process. And, of course, Super Show. Shane?
Super Show.
Thank you. It's our own little convention happening Saturday and Sunday, April 6th and 7th at the Greater Reading Expo Center in Reading, Pennsylvania. Go to cgssupershow.com. for all the information on guests, on exhibitors, and, of course, tickets. Because if you pre-order your ticket, it helps us out immensely with the show. Tickets for the 2-day pass are only $20. 1-day pass for Saturday or Sunday are $12. And when you buy your ticket, you are entered into a raffle to win some original artwork from our guests. We've already given away this week a sketch from Bill Ellis. In the past, we've given away drawings by J.K. Woodward, Joe Staton, Danielle Corsetto. A lot more coming up, people. We only have a few months to go to the show, about 3 months when we had this episode is being recorded. We want to see you there. cgssupershow.com. All right. Well, as you mentioned, this episode, we talked to creator Jeff Lemire about his current projects, his past projects, and upcoming projects, and it's fun, right, Shane?
It is.
What do you think
It was a
about
lot of fun.
Murder? Was it fun?
Till my daddy takes my T-bird away.
There you go. All right, here we
I'm
go.
still stuck on She Blinded Me with Science.
That was last episode, wasn't it?
I don't care.
I think it was. Okay.
It was.
It would have been.
It was.
It was absorbed in a time warp.
Yeah, that's my timey-wimey part for this show.
Anyway, here's Jeff. All right, and welcoming back. We welcome back to the show, Mr. Jeff Lemire. Welcome back, Jeff.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Very good. And as I recall, you're up in Toronto, correct?
I am. I'm in Toronto. Yep.
Are
Trying to
you
think of something smart to say, but I don't have anything.
Are you excited that hockey is coming back?
I am. I'm very excited, and I'm also really excited that you guys agreed before we got on the air that we would only talk about hockey for the next hour.
You know, I had forgotten. I used to be a very big hockey fan and sort of waned off during the years. I knew that, I guess, in 94, 95, there was a stoppage, and they had a short season. But I had forgotten that there was no 2004-2005 season.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. I mean, two work stoppages in 7 years or whatever it was. It's pretty bad. But they know that diehards like me will come right back, so they can get away with it.
Yes. So, yes, hockey's coming back. Because, we're sort of in flyer country down here.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to write 2 more monthly books during that time just because I didn't have hockey to watch. So now I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yes, so we last spoke to you on the show back in June of 2010. Been quite some time.
Doesn't seem possible.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And I was listening. I
was pre-52. That doesn't count anymore.
That's correct. But I was listening to it, and even back then, 2.5 years ago, you talked a little bit about Underwater Welder back then.
Yeah, that book took a long time.
Because I was reading through it, and there's one of the splash pages in there, and it's, as artists do sometimes, they'll sign, the splash page, and it's signed, Lemire 2010. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot this.
Yeah, I actually started that book in 2008. It took me, because I started it right after Essex County, really, and then I got, the stuff happened at Vertigo. I got the Nobody and then Sweet Tooth, so I had to kind of put it on hold. And then it was just sort of chipping away at it here and there over the course of like 3.5 years. It took a long time to get it done. It was pretty stressful too, to have a project that you want to do and it's just sitting there and you can only kind of work at it in tiny little bursts here and there. It's hard to keep any momentum going. And really the only way I was able to finish it at all was when I got Matt Kent, my friend Matt, to do 3 issues of Sweet Tooth with me so that I could take a little chunk of time there and really finish it finally. So, but yeah, it was a really long project.
Yeah, that's just amazing to me because it's, 4 years and you did so much else during that time. I can't imagine your work schedule like that during that time.
Yeah, it was intense. I mean, it was really stressful. Because I was doing Sweet Tooth every month, and I really needed to get the welder done, obviously just to get it done and get it out, but also creatively, you start a project, and then 3-4 years later, you're at such a different spot than when you started it, and you get scared that you kind of forget the original intent of the project and what you were after, and, creatively, it's just hard to maintain any energy for one thing over that period of time. You're not always working on it, so it was tough, but it was really a big relief when I got it done.
Now, I was wondering because during the interview 2.5 years ago, you mentioned how the project changed for you. It was originally going to be about the anxieties of fatherhood, and then when wife became pregnant and you had a son, it became sort of embracing fatherhood. Now,
Yeah.
if you would have been writing that, nonstop without this long break, you think you would have even had that change of the tone of the book?
Yeah, it would have been a totally different book, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what the book would have been if I would have just started it in 2008 when I started it, and then finished it 6 or 8 months later. It would have been a completely different book, obviously, and I'm sure if I go back and look at my scripts and stuff back then, they're much different from what the ending ended up being and where the book ended up going. It's actually hard for me to remember. There are various incarnations of that script because I felt like every time I kind of went back to it, months had passed, and I kind of had new ideas and a new take on it, and would redraft the script, so it was constantly evolving that way because it took so long. So, it's pretty interesting. It's probably the only project where I've kept every scrap of paper, from my earliest notes to right through the final art, and I kind of have a document of that whole process of creating it, on paper, and it's pretty interesting. I think maybe in 10 years or something to kind of go back and put some of that stuff together and put it on a blog or something would be sort of cool.
I think you need to have a nice hardback version so I can get that.
Yeah, maybe an anniversary edition.
Yes, I have to tell you, I'm halfway through it, and I'm loving it. I can already tell, and if Jamie were here, he'd say the same thing. I know I'm going to cry by the end, but it's
Good.
fabulous what I'm reading so far. I love it.
That's good. Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm really proud of it. It was a really tough book to do for a lot of reasons, like I was saying, but in the end, I am quite proud of it, and I'm really happy with the reaction people have had to it, and it's done quite well. So.
Well, I'm super vulnerable to father-son things, and yeah, I'd be hard pressed to say of all of your work that I've read, this will probably end up being my favorite if I'm any gauge of what I've read so far.
Oh, that's great. Thanks.
Yeah, I've read it, Shane, and yeah, it does pack a bit of an emotional punch there, and it's. I love the little. I think even in some of the reviews and maybe even the forward, there's a little bit of Twilight Zone feel to sort of what's going on there.
Yeah, the forward does mention Twilight.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. It's probably the closest thing to Essex County I've done in a lot of ways, but there still is that sort of supernatural subtext to it that maybe is more in line with some of the stuff I've been doing recently. So it kind of combines, the down to earth sort of stuff from Essex County with more of the, the fantastic kind of genre stuff I've been doing at Vertigo and DC. So, it's interesting. I think normally indie books like that, there isn't much of a crossover between people reading your DC, your mainstream stuff, and then your indie stuff. But for whatever reason, people reading Animal Man and Justice Dark and seem to really give it a shot and try it. A lot of them, for a lot of those readers, it was sort of the first time they'd really bought an indie book and stuff. And it was really gratifying for me that a lot of those fans were giving my indie stuff a chance, and that we had kind of like that crossover between the superhero fans and the top shelf stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, and if people haven't read the Essex County trilogy,
Oh, you should.
oh my God,
Yeah.
do yourself a favor. I mean, we've actually talked to him about this as well before in the past.
Yeah.
It was, talk about an emotional punch. Talk about, you also have hockey in there and a little bit of the Cape superheroes. It's a
And there
fantastic.
is a whole volume of that out,
Yes, there
all
is.
in one package.
Now, speaking of your other baby, back in, not your actual child, but your other big project, Sweet Tooth. When we spoke to you 2.5 years ago, you were sort of, I think, around issue 10 or 12 or whatever. And at that time, it was weird because I think we had asked you about, how long do you see it going on? And you said, about, 35 to 40 issues. And sure enough, as this Wednesday, out comes the final issue 40 of Sweet Tooth.
Yeah. I mean, that was a project, it was weird because when I wrote the original pitch and kind of came up with the initial idea for it and everything, the final issue, like the last moments of the whole story, were always pretty fully formed right from the beginning, So I always knew where it would end and how it would end. It was just sort of that middle bit that kind of changed and became a little bit more fluid as I worked on it. But, I always kind of had a pretty good sense of the grand scope of the whole story and where it would go. So, there came a point around, issue 30 or so where I kind of had to make a decision to sort of end it the way I was going to always plan on ending it, or to make it longer, and keep it going. And, I just felt like if I kept it going, it wouldn't really add much to the overall story. It would just be me doing it just because I was, I could, kind of thing. And I thought that would show. And it really felt like it was time for me to move on to other projects. And there was a lot of stuff I was excited to do afterwards. And so I just kind of stuck to my original plan, and I'm glad I did, because I feel like now that it's all done, looking back on it, it's exactly the story I always wanted to tell, the way I wanted to tell it, and I can kind of be proud of it that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's so rare nowadays when you get a project of your own, get to tell your story. And now, again, you had Matt Kinn help out with a few issues, but essentially it's, all your work out there.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's really a dream come true to do that. When I launched Sweet Tooth at Vertigo, that was 2009, and I'd really only done Essex County, and by and large, I was pretty much an unknown to more mainstream comic book fans, and I really did think that if we got to 10 issues, it was kind of lucky. I didn't think I would ever last that long, and to get to do 40 issues and do it all on my own terms and everything, it was really gratifying, and really, I don't know if it'll ever happen again, but it was a great experience for sure.
Now, with the recent announcement of Karen Berger leaving Vertigo, do you have any? How did she help you out what was your experiences with working with Karen Berger? Just put it at that.
Oh God, I mean, Karen was one of my heroes. Long before I met her, Vertigo, when Vertigo launched in '93, I'm trying to figure out how old I was. I was probably, I'm not good at math, but I was in my late teens anyway, or mid-teens, and I was kind of losing interest in comics. At that point, this was the early mid-'90s, and the Image stuff was going on, and that stuff didn't really appeal to me. Vertigo launched, and I started reading Hellblazer and Sandman right before they became Vertigo books, and that really got me reinvested in comics, and so Vertigo and Karen, what she did, her vision for that was really important to me. And then getting to meet her when I did The Nobody, and then Sweet Tooth and everything, and she's just such a gracious person, and she's so inspiring to talk to, and then over the years, last 4 years of doing Sweet Tooth and everything else at DC, we've become friends, on a personal level. She's just she's a great person, and like I said, one of my heroes, and just the chance to be a part of the legacy that she created with Vertigo, even in a small way, is one of the things when I look back on my career one day, I'm sure it'll be one of the things I'm most proud of.
Yeah, we've been hearing a lot of that from people in the last few months after she announced she's leaving Vertigo.
Yeah, I mean, just to think, Sweet Tooth, just to even take a chance to publish a book like that at DC Comics, could you even imagine? Like, it's such a weird indie book to begin with. This kid with antlers, and me who hadn't done anything, even remotely commercial at that point, and for her to take a chance on me and let me do a monthly book, it just kind of shows how bold she is, and the chances she took, and how she could really find people out there with a real voice and help foster them and help them, bring their vision to the comic racks every month. It's really special. She'll be missed for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know what made me think about it, but when I was reading Underwater Welder, there's actually a scene, I think it's around Halloween, people will dress up, and sure enough, in the background, there's Gus.
Yeah, it's Gus. Who is it? Gus, Lester from Essex County, and a little kid version of the Nobody are all walking together.
Oh, wow. I love those kind of Easter eggs.
Oh, yeah.
If I could have put Maxine Baker with them, I would have got cool.
Now, when we talked to you last in 2010, of course, this was all about a year or so before the new 52, before Flashpoint. I
guess I was knee-deep in Superboy at that time. I must have just been starting Superboy, maybe. I can't remember.
Right. So, now, Superboy only lasted about 11 issues, and I had them all, and I started reading it, and then I just sort of stopped when I was like, okay, the new relaunch, it's not going to matter. At what point did you know what was going on with the new 52? Like, what did you know? When did you know? That kind of thing.
What did I know? Well, I'm trying to. I can't remember exact dates and stuff, obviously. But I mean, I was doing Superboy. I did, like you said, I did 11 issues, and I think somewhere around when I was writing the script for issue 9 or something, which would have been spring of 2011. I kind of, the editor started talking to us that, come September something was going to happen. We're going to relaunch the whole line with new number ones. And at that time, we didn't really know that it would be a full-on reboot. Like, we kind of thought continuity would continue. Everything would have a new first issue, and then when it became a little more concrete that we were totally rebooting everything. And at that point, I think they offered the chance for me to stay on Superboy for the relaunch, or at least to pitch for it. And I kind of said, I'd just done a Superboy number 1 just a few months before, and that was kind of my Superboy story, and I didn't really have another one, so I didn't really want to keep it going. But I kind of pretty much got to tie up most of the plot lines and everything in my little run, and it kind of reads as a full story now. But I started working on Animal Man and Frankenstein probably that summer, summer of 2011, and looking back now, it all seemed to happen very fast, but we just kind of hit the ground running, and I got Animal Man, and I just started writing it and just loved it right away. It just felt like the perfect book for me at the perfect time, and people obviously seemed to respond to it. So it all, from my point of view, I'm really happy with how the relaunch went for me and the things that came out of it.
Now, how did that work with you getting those titles? Did they come to you? Did you go to them? Was it sort of a mixture of them?
Yeah, it was a mix. I mean, they asked me to pitch for a few things. I can't even remember what they were, to be honest. I kind of sent pitches in, but my heart wasn't really in the stuff they were asking for. And I had done the Flashpoint Frankenstein miniseries, or I think was doing it when all this was going on, and I was really having a blast with that. And I kind of had all these ideas of how I could, keep going with those characters. And so I actually pitched Frankenstein to them. It wasn't one of the books they kind of had on their list of books for the relaunch, and then when they read I pitched, they liked it so much that they approved that one. And then Bob Harris, I remember having a couple conversations with Bob about, because I knew I wanted to do at least 2 books, and we just talked about different things I might do. And I think Bob just called me one morning with the idea of Animal Man, and as soon as he said it, I just knew it was perfect, because I knew Scott was already doing Swamp Thing, and I'd been talking to him about what he was going to do with Swamp Thing, and I kind of was really excited about the sort of vision he had for that book. And then when Bob said Animal Man, it just seemed perfect, like the family aspect and just the horror aspect and the sort of the Vertigo pedigree and stuff. I knew that Scott and I together could really build those 2 books into something really cool. And so that it just felt like it was meant to be, it just kind of, I wrote those first couple of scripts really fast, just in a big burst of energy, and so I mean, it was really, it all did happen pretty quick, but it was really fun.
When you were writing Animal Man, those first couple issues, did you know that there would be the big Rot World crossover that was going to happen already?
No, I mean, Scott and I had been talking. I had been talking with Scott about Swamp Thing before this, and then when I got Animal Man, I started writing some stuff, and we were kind of sharing scripts, and we just started to see little things like, oh, what if we actually connected these two, this character he had created for his arc, and the hunters that I had created in Animal Man. We just sort of, once we started writing the first 2 or 3 scripts, we realized maybe they came from the same place, and then once we kind of hooked in on that, it just sort of grew out of that. And I don't know that Rot World, as it is now, was ever really on our radar until much later, until we got around issue 7 or 8. Each of us, we started to realize, why not do an actual crossover, and why not just do a really big fun story together. So it wasn't one of those kind of crossovers or events that was, created by editorial and then dictated down to us. It was really just Scott and I riffing off each other and coming up with this stuff and pitching it to them.
That's cool.
So it was a pretty smooth collaboration between the 2 of you?
Oh yeah, I mean we're really good friends, so I think we feed off each other really well and balance each other out pretty well too. So yeah, we're always even on stuff that we aren't collaborating on. You know, we're always sharing scripts and giving each other feedback and stuff. So it really was just a continuation of our natural sort of friendship.
So then you know what's going to happen in the death of the family.
Oh yeah, I know what's going to happen and all that stuff for months, like since last year. You know, I know what's going to happen at the end of the next storyline, so I'm way ahead of you guys.
Yeah.
It's fun to get peek behind the curtain.
No,
he knows everything that's happening in Green Arrow. So
yes. Well,
Yeah, how about that? You're going to make me start buying Green Arrow, you sucker.
I better. It's going to be good. I'm really proud of it. It's I'm honestly, Green Arrow's been so much fun. That was, I was in San Diego in the summer, and I had been at that point I was doing Justice League Dark and Animal Man, and I really wanted to try to do a book that wasn't a horror book, just because I didn't want to get typecast as only being able to do horror.
Sure.
And as much as I love those books, and I'm not going anywhere on either of them, I just wanted to try something else too. And I've always really wanted to do, sort of like a gritty street level crime noir kind of superhero story, something in the vein of like Frank Miller's best stuff with Daredevil and Batman, and even Bendis's Daredevil and Dennis O'Neill's Question and stuff like. I've always loved that kind of story, and when Dan suggested Green Arrow to me, I just immediately knew he could, if I returned him to kind of those grittier roots of the Mike Grell era, I could really do that kind of a story with him, and I got really excited about it. And then, I just started building this big mythology around Green Arrow and stuff that I wanted to do, and they went for it. And then when I got Andrea Sorrentino as the artist, it all kind of gelled together and into this book that I'm really proud of now. We're both working on the 5th issue of our run, and his artwork is just astounding. And I'm really, really happy with how it's turning out.
Bugger, I was very happy to let that one fall by the wayside until I saw you were attached to it.
Now
you can drop one of Pat's books. Sorry.
Oh yeah, okay, that'll go over well. How much? I mean, have you seen the Arrow TV show at all?
No.
Okay, I was going to ask because that would probably be kind of difficult if you had to go with your comic and the TV show. I mean, there's already a TV show.
Yeah.
I mean, comic on the TV show that's out.
Yeah.
What's that?
There's already, I think, a digital.
Yeah, the comic.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I started working on Green Arrow in I think July, so the show didn't come on until September. So I'd already written like 2 or 3 issues and kind of had my whole first year on the book planned out and everything before the show even launched. So really at that point I just felt like I don't know what was the point of watching it. I didn't want to be influenced either in a good or a bad way by it. I thought I just wanted I just kind of wanted to do my own thing. And at the same time though, I mean, it's great that the character now is in the public eye in that way, and there's so many more people interested in the character that maybe weren't before, so it can only help us, with our run. But it's not one of those things where they called me up and said, you got to make it more like this, or you have to make it more in line with what they're doing in the TV show or whatever, in any way, so that's good.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that, like how far in advance you work, and the temptation sometimes to see, what's going on in the TV show, you know?
Yeah. No, I know that they have some kind of mystery, like just from what I've read and stuff. I know that they're doing some kind of mystery around his time on the island and stuff. And I also kind of have a similar thing going on, although from what I've heard, what they're doing with it is really different from what I'm doing. So I'm not really worried about that. And beyond that, I don't really think that there'll be a lot of similarities in terms of plot and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I must say that I was surprised very much how much I'm enjoying the TV show.
That's
and
cool.
It's like, okay, yeah, not like what Shane says, like, okay, now the Green Arrow, because I just didn't really care for the initial launch, and it's like, but now it's like, I'm in the character, but now that I know it's something completely different, I can still get it and enjoy it for what it is and not worry about the TV show. It's something totally different.
And I love
Yeah, no, it's totally different. Yeah.
I loved when Longbow Hunters was out. I followed that initial ongoing for a long while after that. And
Me
then
too, yeah.
a couple of the other ones that have come out since then over the years, I'll go a long while on Green Arrow, and then eventually it dies away. But boy, now yet again, it's something that's exciting me about it. And I'm like, Arr. But it's cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Sorry, to be totally honest, the relaunch, when they relaunched 52 books, and they're not all going to work, and for whatever reasons, I felt like, the Green Arrow series so far hasn't really worked, and I just feel like it's the character, the take they had on him wasn't very relatable or really very likable. They kind of made him into this really brash, arrogant kind of guy who was really rich and kind of had every toy he wanted, and to me that just makes him very unlikable unless you're careful, And, so I really wanted to take what they had done so far and just really strip that down and kind of force this guy to go through a lot of hard times to really build him back up into something better, And so as a launching pad, it was pretty good for me. But I've tried to write my first issue 17, really like a first issue. So if you haven't been reading the new 52 Green Arrow, you don't need to go back and read that stuff. You can just jump right onto my issue and get all the info you need, right in that issue, and just really run with it from there, because it really is a bold, different direction for the title from what we've seen so far.
Cool. That's good to know. It's also good to know you've got this plotted out for a year. You're not going anywhere. Sometimes you get shifts in creators midway through arcs. And it's good to know you're going to be there for quite a while then.
Well, yeah, as long as it's up to me, you never know.
That's true.
Yeah.
Terribly, and they could fire me in 3 months. But for now, I'm just thinking big, so we'll see what happens.
And you're still going on with the Justice League Dark?
Yeah, when I got Green Arrow, I had to make a decision about Dark. I either had to leave Dark or figure something out, and I didn't really want to leave Dark because I was really enjoying it, and it's a lot of fun to write. So a really good friend of mine who lives in Toronto with me, Ray Fox, he's a cartoonist himself as well. He has some books with Oni, one of which called One Soul was nominated for the Eisner for Best Graphic Novel last year. He's a really great writer and a good friend of mine, and much like how Scott and I share scripts and just we use each other for feedback. I often do that. Had been doing that with Ray. Anyway, we just usually get together Wednesdays after we go to the comic shop and hang out and stuff. And Ray is a big fan of all the Vertigo stuff as well, and Swamp Thing and Constantine stuff. So we talk a lot about Justice League Dark anyway, and I knew Ray had a lot of good ideas for it and really loved the characters. So I brought him on as co-writer of Dark. So basically, we kind of plot the stuff together and then split the scripts up and sort of co-plot it and co-script it. And that's been a lot of fun. And he's kind of brought a whole bunch of new energy to it that's kind of reinvigorated my interest in the book. So, really, Green Arrow, Justice League Dark, Animal Man, I'm on all three of those for, I have no plans of going anywhere on any of those books.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, I came across something else, which I think is another thing you're working on, and I know nothing about it but the name. What can you tell us, if you can, anything about Trillium?
Yeah. That's going to be my next Vertigo book after Sweet Tooth.
Okay.
We announced it in New York Comic Con. It's probably going to launch in the fall or late summer, and it'll be a 12, or actually I think it's slated for a 10-issue series, sort of in the vein or in the format of things like Day Trippers and Joe the Barbarian and Spaceman. Sort of some of the more recent Vertigo stuff that it's a monthly book, but it's not, it's more finite, a smaller kind of run. So it'll be a 10-issue thing, and it's, the basic concept is kind of two timelines running. One follows two explorers in 1920, kind of exploring the Amazon jungle and looking for this lost temple. It's supposed to have some crazy properties to it. And the second storyline follows this woman who's a female botanist working in the farthest reaches of space, about 1,000 years into the future. And somehow these two characters end up meeting and falling in love, and it's kind of this time-hopping love story that brings about the end of the universe. So I really wanted to do a really hard sci-fi kind of book. This is kind of my attempt at that.
Awesome.
Now, are you writing and drawing that?
Yeah, I'll be writing and drawing. It'll be the same as Sweet Tooth, so I'll be writing and drawing, and Jose Villarubia, who colored me on Sweet Tooth, will be coloring me on this as well. So yeah, it'll sort of be my next thing as a writer-artist for Vertigo. Yeah, like I said, I'm hoping for a fall release. I'll probably start working on it in earnest in a month or two, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, because I was wondering what you're going to be drawing next after Sweet Tooth, and I wasn't exactly sure.
Yeah, that'll be it, that one. And I'm also doing another graphic novel, sort of more in line with Essex County and the Underwater Welder as well, which I'm drawing right now, actually. I'm going to do that right before I start Trillium. So those two projects for me to draw.
Oh, see, now his plate is full of drawing. It's like, I'm wondering if there's any chance we'll ever see you do any drawing for the DC superhero lines. I know you're a huge superhero fan.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I really love writing the superhero stuff. I genuinely love it, but and doing like little things like that Batman story I did with Damon Lindelof, or the Jonah Hex issue I drew, those are really fun. But doing something long term, if I'm going to invest the time into drawing something, I'd rather it be my own thing.
Okay.
To be honest, But I always, like I said, fun little things like those short stories are really great to do. And I am doing another one with Lindelof. Doing a Rip Hunter Time Master story that I'll be drawing. Writing. It's a 10-issue thing, and that'll be in one of those Vertigo anthologies next month.
Rip
not
Hunter.
next month, in the spring. Yeah, Rip Hunter should be really fun.
There we go. Now I'm awake.
That's awesome.
Gosh. Oh. Now, doing some research for the show, I looked for Jeff Lemire online, and I came across an article, I guess it was on Bleeding Cool, that you've been recently tweeting pictures of like Gem of Saturn, Commandy, Spectre, and Red Tornado. Is there anything we should be reading into that at all?
No. I mean, Bleeding Cool is ridiculous. I was just literally, after Christmas, going through my studio and cleaning up all my old comics and stuff and kind of sorting some shit out. And just, every time I came across a cool comic I remembered fondly, I was just snapping a picture and tweeting it. It wasn't me teasing anything. I guess I was just tweeting the pictures without any comments because didn't really want to spend the time to do it. But, it wasn't me by any means teasing anything. Although now that you say it, a team book with Gem, Andy, and the Spectre kind of sounds awesome.
There we go. We scoop Bleeding Cool. Yeah. Yeah, gosh, you got to be careful when you're a creator and you send things out. People just their minds. The minds are just running with everything.
Oh yes, comic book fans are just.
Of course, I could be lying, and I might be working on all those characters.
Even better.
That'll keep them guessing. I have to set up one of those Rip Hunter style 52 chalkboards now.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
All those characters'
don't
names
tease,
on.
man. Don't tease. I'll have a joygasm right here. That's cool.
Yep, we were all very pleased with the one that you slipped into the most recent issue of Justice League Dark. Mm-hmm. Or I guess the second most recent issue. I remember 14, I think it was. It was somewhere in the house.
Oh, the Constantine's office. Yeah. That was a lot of fun to write. Yeah.
Fun to read.
Yeah, I wrote a bunch of those, and then Jeff Johns read them, and he wanted to add some too because he liked them so much. Some of those were him. But my favorite one was just there's a picture of Aquaman, and Constantine's comment is, "Who cares?" I don't know if Jeff liked that or
not. Now that we're starting the new year, do you know what your convention schedule is going to be looking like for appearances?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I'm trying to cut down a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be working out. I'm going to be doing Emerald City in Seattle. I'm doing one in Kansas City in April or May. I can't remember.
Oh, Planet Comic Con.
Yeah. Jason Aaron invited me down, so
yes.
That'll be fun. I always like hanging out with Jason. And so those two. What else? And I'll be at San Diego, and then I'm going to do a couple shows. I'm going to France in September and Norway in June. And So those will probably preclude me doing many American shows in the fall. But yeah, so far that's what I have lined up.
Wow, Norway! I didn't.
Yeah, I know. I just got invited. It's gonna be really cool.
Wow, I don't think I've ever heard of it. I'm sure there's comic fans in Norway, but I've never heard of a convention in Norway.
New destination spot for
There's
fans.
just one comic fan. He invited me over. Name's Thor.
Well, you've got quite the travel log ahead of you then.
Yeah, it should be good. But airports are always good for writing, so I like traveling usually.
Very good. I think, is there anything else that you can even talk about now that you have coming up?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I got Green Arrow, Animal Man, Dark. What else is going on? Nothing I could talk about. There's some more DC stuff that'll be announced later this week, maybe in time for this podcast to air. There's another book being announced, but that I'm doing with Ray Fox, the co-writer on Justice League Dark. So that'll be something surprising that no one will be able to guess for reasons that will become apparent when it's announced. But it's not Gem, Commandy, or Spectre.
That'd be funny if it was.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to now Green Arrow.
Yeah, I'm right there with but I'll read it and enjoy it, I'm sure.
It's really easy. It's all you have to do is stop reading Batman and read Green Arrow. It's very simple.
Hey, there you go.
I can say there's things I probably can stop reading, but that Batman's not one of them, but that's not going to affect me getting Green Arrow.
What if I tell you everything that's going to happen right now on this podcast in Batman, and then you don't have to read it anymore?
No, what I'm saying is I'll be able to get both of them.
This is what happens. The Joker kills Bruce Wayne and takes over his body and becomes the new Batman.
Oh, good. Now I don't have to waste my time there.
Yeah.
Oh, I enjoyed that very much. I enjoyed that.
How much would you laugh if that was actually the ending, though?
I would probably just be laughing my ass off in the middle of the comic book store. Oh, my God. Oh, gosh. Well, once again, congratulations on Sweet Tooth.
Yeah.
Just coming to an end, and continued success with everything else.
I'll look for that extended Underwater Welder hardback omnibusy thing to come out in 10 years.
10 years. 10 years from tonight.
10 years.
You can book
it. It's on my calendar.
It's on your calendar.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you have a good evening.
Thanks, you too. Take it easy.
All right,
Take
sir. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Oh, yes. I knew he'd be fun to talk to again. Because I listened to that episode from a couple of years ago, and it's just his love of the superheroes. And it's like Sweet Tooth was just starting out there then. It's so cool when he had a plan for it.
And it works.
And
no one futzes with it.
Exactly. Again, just good
So we
stuff.
have Essex County, Sweet Tooth, Underwater Welder.
The Nobody.
Justice League Dark, Animal Man.
Of course, he did Frankenstein Agent of Shade.
Frankenstein Agent of Shade.
The Flashpoint, one of that as well.
This graphic novel coming out. This awesome sounding space
Trillium.
sci-fi thing, which sounds really cool.
A Rip Hunter story.
Rip Hunter story. That
Because I
cannot believe.
I miss Rip Hunter so much.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That Booster Gold Rip Hunter stuff. Oh, fabulous. And then on top of that, Green Arrow, which I was totally fine with never reading again. I am going to have to try. I can't not.
Yeah.
I think sold me too when he said that you don't need to touch the first 16 issues.
And I love Green Arrow. He's awesome.
And I felt better when Jeff said that he felt that the post New 52 Oliver Queen was unlikable, because I feel better about feeling the same way now.
And I'm sure there would be comparisons, and I might have made these comparisons had I not spoken to him right now about his run on Green Arrow and the TV show. But it's good that he actually was able to get away from that and start it before it was even on the air.
Yeah.
Very good stuff. All right. Oh, and the thing with him and Scott Snyder knowing he knows the whole.
But that's also cool to know that they're. And maybe it was talked about in articles and stuff. I mean, and honest to God, I do not go on the internet and just read articles about comics. I just don't. To find out that they talked about things and just naturally nurtured this thing that became the crossover. That's cool. I like that. Rather than having it in the slightest bit saying, hey, we want you guys to do a crossover. You're similar in characters. We know you guys get along. Can you make something happen? That it just happened without any of that outside influence. It just worked. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's extremely cool and increasingly rare these days.
Yeah.
Creators coming up with crossover events on their own volition.
And I'm not saying that outside influence from whatever parent company you're working for is bad. I mean, it's a company. They have their plan. They can execute it through their editors and everything, however they see fit. It's just neat, like you said, that's so rare that something like this actually happens now. It's cool.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy the Underwater Welder, Shane. It
Oh,
was so rare. I actually got to read it before you got to finish it.
I know. You know what?
Now,
You will weep.
I read the first half of it on a trip to New York, and then I put it in the comic room on my reading pile thing. We got reading the Marvel Now stuff. I started shifting things around. For a couple days, I lost the darn book. I couldn't find it in the room. And I kept meaning to get it done before tonight, and I just didn't. I have it here, so it's going to go right back on the top of the pile again now that I found it. But yeah, I just the first half that I read is awesome.
Yeah. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but it is a sort of a quick read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Once you get into it, you can't stop reading it.
The only reason I stopped is because the bus stopped and we had to get off.
I want to see more of his artwork. I know he has a lot of writing gigs, but because I know we talked before, he's a big superhero fan. He just loves to draw the superheroes and doesn't get a chance to do that right now. But at least he mentioned that because he wants to draw his own stuff. I can understand.
And I like
understand that.
I appreciate that. Not that it's a limitation. That's not how I want it to sound. But the fact that he knows he enjoys drawing his own stories. Maybe more than what he would as superhero stuff. He just enjoys the writing aspect of it. If that sounds right, That's cool. Why overextend it when it might not come out as well as good as you want it to? You put your focus on what you love, and he loves his own stories. I think on a personal level, the way it sounds more than he would drawing just superhero stuff. While he enjoys writing the superhero stuff just as much as anything he writes himself. Hopefully that all sounded right. It wasn't some sort of timey-wimey sounding weirdo thing.
Gentlemen, anything else to discuss?
No, that was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was. All right. Well, this episode was brought to you by DCBS Discount Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs. And just a reminder, you can still get your votes in for the CGS Best of 2012 nominations. You can go to thecomicforums.com on the Comics Talk community on Topic Forum. The very first topic is the nomination thread. There are all the categories are listed there. You can cut and paste it and email us your choices.
Wouldn't that be funny if somebody mailed you a cut and paste, old-fashioned
well, as long
snail
as
mail?
they get it to us by Sunday, January 20th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, those will count to the nominations. And, of course, a reminder for a Super Show, go to cgssupershow.com for all the information. I am updating the website as much as I can with guest information and exhibitor information. And, again, please order your tickets and get entered into the raffle. If you want to leave us a voicemail, our number is 267-702-6642. You can send us an email. We're comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. We're Comic Geek Speak. You can join in the conversation at thecomicforums.com and talk back about this episode as well as many other topics, thecomicforums.com. We want to thank everybody who has donated to the show. We really appreciate it. Could not do without you. And as always, we are uniting towards mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.